I am very excited because today we'll be talking about control dramas from this incredible book that I'm always talking about all the time, The Celestine Prophecy. Like, I'm always talking about this book. Um, it's amazing. And I really cannot wait for you guys to like just join in with me. I'm gonna fix this a little bit though, because I feel like you guys can't really see enough of me for us to be doing the tapping together later on. Here we go. Better. Okay. Hi, Rahana. Hi, Sia. Hi, Umesh. Courtney, good morning. Good morning. Monique. Up, Jack, if you're here, hello. Vita, hello. Amazon, good morning. Hello. Oh my gosh. First off, I hope you all are doing okay. I know that this super full moon in Aquarius has been intense for a lot of people. I've been checking in. I know it's been very intense for me. So I'm just like sending everybody some love because yeah, I think we might need a little bit extra love, a little bit extra care today. And that's okay. Gigi, hello. Yeah, it's been like really insane. I think it's the best way I can put it, where I'm just like, wow, I feel like everything that I have been working on or building out has been like deeply tested over the past like couple of days. You know, I've been experiencing like really beautiful high moments where I'm like, oh, this is dope. And then like almost within the blink of an eye, like extremely low moments where I'm like, what is happening right now? And it is a lot, to say the least. It is a lot. Okay, so if you're going through that too, I'm right here with you. You're not alone in this. This is something that we spoke about in the Lotus Hour on Sunday, and I gave you guys the link to the replay in the email yesterday. So if you haven't watched it, I strongly suggest that you do, because we're gonna still be seeing and feeling these residual effects of this moon for the rest of this week. Honestly, it might be another 6 month cycle, depending on placements and things like that. So please just make sure you remember that this is all about shadow integration, which is why I wanted to talk about control dramas today, because control dramas are an aspect of shadow work. And I feel like when you know what they are, and you know which ones you identify with, which ones your guardians identify with, or your loved ones, it's easier for you to navigate what's going on in your life. And I felt like it would be helpful for all of us. Okay. Hi, Carl. Yes. Feeling it for sure, Peter. I know. It's not been great. Most times, like full new moons are like fun times, but this one is like, no, we're actually getting some work done. Deal with it. Um, so that's exciting, right? That's very, very exciting. Thank you, Carl. I appreciate that. Welcome. Um, just to put this out there so I can be better at it. This is a donation-based practice. Hi. This is a donation-based practice. So, oh, I appreciate that so much. Thank you, Rudy. Um, if you were able to donate at any moment, if anything resonates with you throughout the session, by all means, please donate. If you're unable to donate, do not worry about it. If you could rate a track or review one of my meditations or EFT sessions, you can join the email list. You can subscribe to the podcast, Lotus Like. There's different ways for you to show your appreciation for whatever it is that you received today. I'm just supposed to mention it as a donation-based practice like 3 times. So work with me, okay? Hello, everyone. Thank you. Okay. So, what wins can we celebrate for this week? Does anybody have any wins? I know this might be like a little like, girl, we just really had such a stressful time with this full moon. But any wins, big or small, I would like to celebrate them and also write them down so that, I can be almost like your own personal win jar, like we talked about earlier. So if anyone has any wins, please let me know. I know for me, a win has been that I've been super active lately. So I've been like bike riding. I went hiking on Monday. I went hiking in Ballet Flats. It wasn't like maybe the best idea, but I needed to get out into nature and like reset. So I just did what I had to do. I went to the gym. I've been very active over the past weekend. I dropped my first episode of Lotus Like, which was a big win, and immediately felt like a rush of anxiousness because you're putting something out into the world that you've kind of held close to the vest for a long time. And now you're just like, ooh, other people are going to experience it. Like, what are they going to feel about it? And then also having this side of like, I'm happy with what I put out. So, like, I don't necessarily care. So, ebbing between those two feelings can feel overwhelming. So, working out has been like really helpful for me to just do something with the extra energy. Otherwise, I feel like I would just really fall apart as a person. So, that's my personal win. Okay. Let's see. Do you think everyone is feeling the strong ups and downs, or we feel it stronger? What's your thoughts? Do you think everyone is feeling the strong ups and downs, or we feel it stronger? As in we, I'm assuming you mean like people who are a little bit more tapped in and tuned in, who have a more focal point on spirituality and wellness. Let me know what you mean before I answer, Peter. Okay. I want to say that's what you mean, but I want to be clear. I don't want to assume. Okay. Thank you guys so much. That's so sweet. People in general. Okay, yeah, got you. People in general versus more spiritual. I feel like if you are more spiritual or more energetic based, you're gonna always feel things more intensely, and you're probably gonna feel them before your collective does. So I had been feeling the effects of this full moon maybe like a week or so before it happened, right? And I feel like that's because we all are connected. I was just talking to one of my girlfriends about this. Everyone is spiritual. Everyone has a connection to source, God, whoever they call on to in their time of need. Everyone has that connection. Some of us strengthen our connection a bit more. We clarify it, right? And then we live by it or we allow it to guide us. Other people just have it. And, it's almost like having the skill set of like a different language. Like some people use it actively, right? And they become super fluent in another language. Some people just like, I can get around the basics and that's fine. Some people like, I know it, but like, I don't need to use it. So I'm not going to. I feel like that's what happens when it comes to spirituality. Some of us just use it more. And if you're using something more, you're going to be more familiar with it and you're going to be able to identify the effects of it more often in your life than other people are. So that's how I feel about it. Like me as a spiritual person, there are things that I sense and I feel before other people are feeling it. And it's really just based off of our practice, right? It's based off of our connection. Like I am practicing every day to connect to my spirituality, praying every day, do my best to read, to study, to channel my inner child, things like that. So I tend to feel things heavier. Let me know if that answers your question. Gigi, blessing and a curse. I'm not going to disagree with you there. Definitely a blessing for sure. Can also feel like a detriment to your well-being sometimes because you're just like, wow, this is a lot, and no, none of you guys are getting this. I actually had this experience where I was like moving my body physically and my other friend was doing the same thing and I'm just like, how are you not exhausted by this activity? And what we came to realize is that she has a little bit more detachment in her relationship to her body, where like for me, because of the lifestyle that I live, I'm very in tune. I can feel aches almost immediately because I'm paying attention to those things. And even in that is like so interesting of wow, even in working out, it can make me more tired because I'm just a bit more aware of my body and my energy than someone who is more focused on just the workout and not necessarily if it's affecting the body. Does that make sense? I wrote intentions and burned under the Aquarius supermoon Monday night. I love this for you, Jack. I should burn some intentions too, just for the the release practice of it. Um, yeah, that's a great idea, Jack. I think I might do that. Let's see. There we go. Sonali, hello, relatable. I love that so much. Let me just fix this really quickly. There we go. Perfect. Same. It's been a while for me. Yeah. I think I'm gonna do a little burn activity. a little fire play, if you will. Okay. So yes, please let me know if you have any wins, anything small, anything big. It could be something as simple as like you completed your self-care practice today, or you stayed hydrated, which would be lovely to hear, by the way. Just throwing that out there. I've been eating a lot of watermelon over the past couple of days to like stay hydrated, because I was having a hard time like just keeping up with my water intake, and it has helped a lot because again, especially during a super full moon, if you find yourself being super emotional, you need to be drinking more water. It usually is a strong sign that you're dehydrated, and that you're not releasing any toxins in your body. And all of that does affect our emotional well being. So please, please drink water. Okay. Melons and berries here. Yep. Or eat your water. I'm totally fine with that too. Like, eat your water, drink your water, but just make sure you are meeting your water standards each day so that you can like navigate life and not be so overwhelmed. Okay. Okay. So I'm very excited because today we're talking about understanding and transforming control dramas. And it's from this book, The Celestine Prophecy. This book is a fictional book. However, I really feel like this applies to the non-fictional world. I think it's really important for us to read this book. This is probably my number one recommendation when it comes to a spiritual text to read before even like The Alchemist. Like, I really think that this book is easier to die. And I'm gonna be honest, The Alchemist and Celestine Prophecy literally have similar themes. It's about a person that goes on a journey to discover themselves and like what their purpose is here on Earth, and like the deeper divine truths that live in this world alongside us. They both do that. I feel like the Celestine Prophecy is a bit easier to digest, where like The Alchemist, you need to really be in a certain mindset. I feel like reading this book helps you get to that mindset. So I would prefer people to read this book first and then The Alchemist. I think it just drives home what you get in The Alchemist. It's a bit more esoteric. Okay. Literally one of my favorite books. Yes, please, please, please go get water. Thank you. So we're gonna be talking about the control dramas, and these are like four main archetypes in the book, and they are the Intimidator, the Integrator. I can't. Sometimes my words are not great, but Integrator, the Aloof, and the Poor Me. Right, and how they manifest in our lives and relationships, and how we can use awareness and of course EFT, because we'll be tapping later on, to transform them. And this is from the fourth insight in the book. As I explained earlier in a different session, I am going to be talking about that insight today because I feel like the control dramas are something that we all need to be aware of. And then the other 8 insights I will be teaching in the garden as a masterclass, because they're really, really helpful in getting you into alignment with the energy around you, getting you into alignment with your divine source, so that you can navigate this world with a bit more ease and a bit more confidence. Every time that I reread this book, it just reminds me like you are tapped in and tuned in, and that there's a lot of support from the world around you. You need to lean into that a bit more. Like, you kind of always, even for me as a very spiritually led person, I can always kind of seep back into the logical aspects of things and kind of let the physical world dictate what's happening for me. And honestly, it's annoying and it's overwhelming and it's not as fruitful as opposed to when I am really listening to the divine nudges in life and listening to God's source universe. I'm like, okay, this makes more sense. It's just more playful, it's more lighthearted, it's more fun. So I really wanted to make sure that I shared that part with you all, okay? Amazon, a win for me this week was listening to my body and not my head in order to rest when my immune system disorder popped up. I love that so much. I'm taking a picture because, yes, same here. I ended up having almost like a very light seizure last week, and I was like, absolutely not, girl. Like, let's get it together. You need to go rest. You need a bubble bath. Like, what's going on? Why are you about to why are you like, what's going on? So I'm happy to hear that you did the same thing, Amazon, because when we get those small little nudges, those like little indicators that something is going on, whether we think it's wrong or right is irrelevant. The point is that we have the awareness to witness it. it is really important for us to act upon it, right? To take that insight as inspired action so that we can settle or, accept whatever it is that's coming up for us, right? Yes, both books can certainly be life changing. I agree. Yes, Jack, I agree. Alchemist and Celestine Prophecy are both illuminating. Yes, 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 yes. I agree. I found for myself and a lot of my clients that The Alchemist was harder to digest if you hadn't read the Celestine Prophecy. So I read The Alchemist first, and then I read Celestine Prophecy, and then I read The Alchemist again. And I'm just like, oh, all of these things. I'm like, oh my goodness, all of these like nuances. But because this book also puts you in a frequency, because it's giving you like step by step instructions on why you do what you do, why you're feeling discomfort in your life, and then how to release that discomfort, transform it, alchemize it, right? And then to live in a vibration where you are getting more divine insights, more peace and more structure from God. Like, it's giving these step by step things, and then when you go to The Alchemist, it just drives it home deeper, right? Like, it's like, this is really really why this is, you know what I mean? So you leave after those two books feeling like the world is a new place. I just feel like these are the books that you need to read often, because we can get so trapped in the world that we live in that we forget that there's really magic everywhere for us to experience, you know? Yes, easy to slip back into the old radio station frequency of the material world. Yeah, 100%. And then you're forgetting all these beautiful things. You're just like, damn, like, how did I forget that? And it's because we are constantly taking in information, and we're filtering it through our control dramas, which we'll talk about in a second. And that can cause us to just stay somewhere that we genuinely don't want to stay. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people consciously know they don't want to be where they're at, but subconsciously keep doing the habits and decisions that keep them there. Like, you need to continuously reread, refresh the information that you're getting. There's like, I forgot where I got this from. I want to say it was like from one of an old mentor, but they were just always like, you're constantly being brainwashed, right? Like, it's happening. Don't think that you're not being brainwashed. Like, if you're consuming media, um, and any form, you're being brainwashed, right? Someone's influence of what they feel is best for you is being poured into your mindset on a consistent basis. So if that's what's already happening, then like you might want to like take the reins and brainwash yourself. Like, read the things, do the things, take in the information that allows you to feel better about your existence, so that you don't, for lack of better words, like crash out, right? Like, you're able to be like, okay, I'm reinforcing the things that help me to feel good, that are going to allow me to express my creativity and my purpose and passion in the world. That is what I want to focus on. So, reading books, taking in podcasts, doing sessions like these, going into communities where that is reinforced is crucial to do, honestly, on a daily basis. But even if it's not on a daily basis, like on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, so that you don't lose the momentum of what it is that you're doing, right? That's why we have like the daily tapping sessions and like the daily meditations in, the Insight Timer group, or that's why we have the garden where we dive a little bit deeper on other topics, because my intention is that we continuously keep up with the momentum of what we're learning and what we're revealing, because the truth is that we're not really learning anything. We're just unlearning a lot of BS. We're unlearning a lot of things that are not in alignment with us anymore, and we have to consistently unlearn these things, because they tend to be really harmful. They tend to limit us, they tend to make us limit other people, and that's just not what we're here to do. That's not our purpose on earth, to limit others. Our purpose on here is to continue to unfold as much as possible, so that we can really shift the world forward. Okay? Is there a movie also of the Celestine Prophecy? Peter, there is a movie. That movie is absolutely terrible. I never recommend it, because they literally took like the most random parts of the book and put them together. Um, and I don't really understand why. I think it was rushed. I think people wanted a movie, so they were like, we gotta do whatever we can do to get this movie out. Not the best movie. The audiobook is good too, but they do skip out on some parts too. But it is an easy read. But I would suggest the book first. Then if not the book, then maybe the audiobook. But I would never suggest the movie. Like, I watched it and I was just like, what am I watching? Also, there were a lot of racial undertones, a lot, with indigenous and black folks in the movie itself. And I'm like, that wasn't portrayed in the book like that. I need us not to do that in movies where we have visual context to like interpret, you know? Um, it was like very, very, very weird, very unnecessary too. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Constant brainwashing. Yes, yes. I read the Celestine Prophecy in 1993. Thanks for reintroducing um, to the tribe. Yeah, no, this book is so good. And I've read the other ones. I've read the 10th insight, the 11th, and the 12th. So there's 12 insights. This one carries the first 9, and then he had 3 extra books. They're all incredible. Like, incredible. Incredible. But the first 9 will get you exactly where you need to be. I was like, wow, yes, yeah, limiting others is not the purpose. It's not. Awesome, thank you. Of course, Peter, although I would say some institutions, it is the purpose. You know what, Jack? I would agree with you 100%. I definitely would agree with you. Like, yeah, yes. Okay, so first and foremost, let's go over what a control drama is. Control dramas are patterns of behavior used to manipulate and gain energy from others. This is really important because in the book, the first few insights talk about just even being aware of energy and the fact that this is what we use to live our lives, and where we're getting our energy from. So ultimately, you want to get your energy from the universe, where there's a limitless amount of energy, but a lot of us never even get to that level of consciousness because we are trapped in our control dramas, which make us manipulate and take energy from other people, which is very low vibrational and usually comes from some type of childhood trauma, right? There we go. They often stem from early family dynamics and are ways we unconsciously seek validation and control, right? And remember, we talked about the fact that control is not a real thing, that you're not really in control of anything at all. Even to a certain extent, like you're not even in control of like your involuntary actions. Right? They're involuntary. Like you're gonna just breathe to breathe. Like, yeah, you can hold your breath for a certain amount of time, but like after a while, you're going to take a deep breath. Like we're not as in control as we like to think that we are when we're making decisions in life, when we are moving about the world. We feel like we have this big sense of control. And there's a difference between controlling things and having authority and ownership, right? Like I'm owning my life, but I also understand that I cannot control every aspect of it. My intention is that when things happen in my life, I can take ownership of it. I can take authority and be like, okay, this is what happened, and can I make a better choice? Okay, then let me go and work to make that better choice, as opposed to being in the victim mindset of like these things are just happening to me and woe is me and I really cannot make much of anything happen. So it's really important for us to remember, like, control is not the goal. It's never the goal. But a lot of us desire the illusion of control because it makes us feel strong. It doesn't necessarily make us feel safe, but it makes us feel strong. And if we feel strong, then we're like, okay, well, I can pretty much get through anything because I can just power through it. But again, not the main intention of our existence here on Earth, right? Yes, yeah. Did you like the movie Amazon? Because yeah, yeah, the movie was it's not great for me. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yes, no, the 11th and 12th insights are amazing. Okay. So recognizing the control patterns, the control dramas, is the first step of change in our lives. So again, we have the Intimidator, the Interrogator, the Aloof, and the Poor Me. Okay. So the first one is, and these are in a certain order because there's one that is like super, super, super aggressive, which is the Intimidator. And then you have the fourth one, which is the Poor Me, where it's like pure victim mindset. So those are like the two opposite ends of the spectrum. And then you have the Interrogator and then the Aloof in the middle, kind of balancing things out. However, all the control dramas are unhealthy ways of expressing and receiving energy. Okay. So the Intimidator exerts control through fear and authority, okay? And I want you guys to really pay attention to each description of each control drama, because we're going to be having reflective questions that I'm giving you all for you to really check and see which one do you fall into. Do you fall into more than one? Which one do your parental guides fall into, your loved ones? Because when you're able to see them through this lens, it changes how you respond and react to them. And if there's something that I have bared witness to in this group in particular, is that we all have very unique yet similar family wounds, right? Where we were often the black sheep of our families, right? Despite whatever type of love or affection you received, you knew that there was always something different about you. And this really does explain as to why. And it can really help people who are struggling with their dynamics with their family, or their loved ones, to make peace and realize, like, okay, when I for my mother is an intimidator. Like, that is the control drama in which she falls into easily. She might even lean into the integrator a little bit too. Once I understood that that is what she had to cultivate in order for her to feel some sense of power in her life, it made it a lot easier for me to practice forgiveness and to witness her humanity, as in, like, okay, if this is what you had to cultivate in order to survive life, that's crazy. And I hate that you had to have that experience. That doesn't mean that I'm going to just allow you to treat me any type of way, right? I still have my healthy boundaries. I'm never negating that. However, I'm still able to now see you through a lens of, like, humanity, where there's not this distaste, or this for some of us, this even like hatred or a strong dislike for our loved ones. We can be able to be like, this is what you got from life. Not the best, right? But also, now that I'm aware of it, I can be like, okay, cool, this is just how you try to receive energy. And when people do not have other ways of receiving energy, when people are not meditating, when people are not tapping, when people are not going into nature and connecting with plants and trees and touching grass and earthing, when people are not doing these things, they're not getting a charge up. They're not getting a recharge of their energy, which means that they still need to recharge their energy. So they're going to go to the next energy source. And sometimes that's their children, that's their spouse, that's their best friend, um, whoever it is that's close enough to them where there's a bit of unconditional love there. Because taking someone's energy without their permission is in fact abuse. I know people don't want to say that, or like, I wasn't aware. Most people are not aware that they're abusive. I guess it's really just something that just goes over their head, right? And when they're made aware of it, their immediate response is what? To defend themselves. They're like, what? Me? Abuse? What? All these things that I do, this time I told you I love you. Like, they start to defend themselves, because really in their minds, it's just like, I'm just trying to get energy. Not you being upset with me because I'm trying to take energy and you have energy to give me. And it's like, that's not, if I'm not voluntarily giving you that energy and you're siphoning it from me, that is a form of abuse. It is literally called, like, in the book they call it psychological violence or psychic violence, where you're literally draining someone of their energy simply because um you can, simply because this is what you've done to survive. And people don't often see fault in that action. And my intention and hope is that today, when we are discovering where we fall into these different control dramas, that we become more aware so that we can stop siphoning energy from other people and start getting the energy that we need from the places in which it is limitless. Okay? Let me know if that makes sense. Yeah, I agree. Amazon was terrible. Yes. Jack, now you're saying the movie is an all-time classic. Whatever you say at this point, like, sure, okay. Let me see. This is reminding me of the drama triangle, of the empowerment triangle. Ooh, Laura, if you want to drop that information, like, in the chat or in the group, please do. Sonali, pardon me, Lotus. Are you saying? And see, so this is the part, Sonali, where you're gonna, like, really hear my dialect, my New York accent, because we pronounce things a little differently. So I am saying the latter, but I feel like I'm not saying it correctly, and we're just gonna have to just, like, live with that. So it's Interrogator. It's the one with 2 R's. Like, this is the best way that I can say it with my accent. I was practicing earlier. I'm like, this is where you guys are going to hear that I'm from New York. And hopefully we're going to be okay. But I am going to drop the main 4 control dramas and the reflective questions inside the Insight Timer group for everyone. And then the entire syllabus will go inside the garden for people who want to go in more in depth. Okay. Was driving when session started. Home now. So happy to be with you all. Vita, yes. I mean, no, the movie seemed unfinished to me. Yes, I agree. No, I knew exactly what you meant, Amazon. It did. All the books have jewels to live by, but the first one sets the standard. Agreed, 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 agreed. Wisdom, Aaron. Thank you so much. Hi, nice Lotus. The understanding is love for you and your mom. Yeah, again, it's not to make excuses for people. There was like this viral TikTok video of this really beautiful and profound woman, and she had a lot of anger towards her parents, and she was a lot older. Maybe she was in like her late 50s or 60s, and just being like, we don't make excuses for our parents. And I agree 100%. But when we are still feeling rage or like heavier emotions because of what's happened to us in our childhood, and we haven't made peace with that, I just feel like you're still being controlled, right? They're still siphoning energy from you because you have this anger towards them. And it doesn't mean that your anger is not right or righteous or justified. I'm not saying that, because anger can be justifiable. But if you're continuing to have that decades after the initial wound, especially if you are someone who is in like the wellness or spirituality space and you have access to this type of insight, to this type of information, to skills and techniques that are, when in use, helping you to practice the law of detachment, separate yourself from the core wound, practice healing and reparenting yourself, reestablishing your connection to your inner child. These things are supposed to result in you feeling softer towards your humanity and the humanity of others. When that does not happen, there is a disconnect. And that disconnect usually means that you are still trapped in your control drama, and that person has been siphoning energy from you. Even if they are physically no longer here, it's still siphoning energy from you, because energy never dies. You don't have to be on this physical plane to siphon energy. That's a whole nother conversation. But you're still tapped in that way. And for me, it's like, if I continue to be enraged at all the things I had to endure with both parents, because my mother was the intimidator and my father was the aloof, right? He was completely just non-existent in the dynamic and the relationship. Both of their control dramas made me a hyper-aware person, right? Because my mother was using force to get me into alignment with what is that she thought was best for me, right? Because she was doing this by herself. And then the aloofness of my father, just like, you're just not even present, right? To even be here in my life, to really understand what's going on, or who I am and what I'm evolving into. But having those two parents have those particular control dramas caused me to have to really reflect and look at myself, right? Because when you have a parent that's a mix of the intimidator and the integrator, like where they're constantly asking you questions and you need to be on point, because if you're not, there is a severe consequence, right? Or you have someone that is the intimidator where they're essentially bullying you for energy, you immediately do one or two things. You either go into like the poor me archetype where you become victim and hope that they leave you alone, right? That fawn mentality from the flight, fight, freeze, or fawn, right? Our trauma responses. You go into fawn of like, please, like, or flight, like you run away of like, if I appear weak, you will not harm me. Or you turn into the intimidator yourself and you start to push that energy back. And that's really where I was for a long period of time in my life, of like, you're not going to bully me out of my energy. Eventually, I was able to transmute that control drama and just be like, I just need to have healthy boundaries. Because even if you choose to continue to behave this way after I've made it clear to you that I don't like this, it doesn't mean that you have access to my energy if I don't want you to have access to my energy. I actually have ownership over my energy, and it does not have to go to you. which means that I got to take better care of myself and strengthen my aura so that when you are around me, when you are trying to siphon my energy, you're hitting a boundary, you're hitting a wall. That's because I didn't give you access to that, right? So you begin to transform these things, right? With um, my father being the aloof, I had to pay attention to myself because there was someone literally having a disregard for my existence, right? Because it made them take energy. And we're going to talk about how that works. So for me, having that meant like I had to really care for myself. I had to really make sure that I was okay because if I wasn't doing that, that parental figure was not giving me that. I had one parent that was overly caring, right? Like super helicopter mom energy. And another one I was kind of like, whatever happens, happens. And that can lead you to just not caring for yourself, being very aggressive, very tuned out, right? Of what life is all about. But when you awaken to divine truths, because we take in really good information, right, and we learn from it, we're able to start transforming that relationship. And it leads us to being our most divine, authentic self. And for me, that is someone that is very deeply caring, very warm, very loving. However, I am no one to play with whatsoever. And I also have a deep sense of self confidence because I grew up with someone that was constantly challenging my identity and sense of self at every moment of my life until I was old enough to not have to live in that environment anymore. It makes you fortify your sense of confidence. It's why I'm able to go and be public and talk about things that most people are afraid to speak about because I don't necessarily care how people are interpreting it because this is what's true to my heart and true to who I am as a person. And I've had the most intense of teachers teach me that you need to stand on what it is that you're saying. So I only speak with conviction. I only talk about the things that I know. And because I only talk about things that I know, the things that I'm convicted about, it is not easy for someone to sway my opinion or to make me feel less than, which does tend to trigger a lot of people. But again, that part's not my business. Let me know if that makes sense, okay? Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Jack. I'm playing the movie doesn't capture the magic of the book. I know, I realized you were, because I'm like, Jack, that movie? Please, please. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Sonali. I appreciate you for being so patient with me and my New York accent. The drama triangle and empowerment triangle is probably best to Google it for a diagram. Okay, thank you, Laura. The drama triangle is the three unhealthy dynamics of relating to others, and the empowerment triangle is the three dynamics you can shift towards to become relationally healthier. I love that so much, and I'm going to take a quick picture of that because it's great information. Absolutely loaded, stuck in a reaction, anger, still stuck in the wound. I deal with that sometimes. Yeah, it definitely comes up. It doesn't come up as often as it used to. Every once in a while, it comes up, and I'm like, whoa, 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 what's happening? What's happening here? Kind of catches me off guard. But when it does, I have to remind myself, like, how are you choosing? You're reacting right now, but how do you want to respond? Like, how do you want to intentionally respond to this? Do you really want to be this upset with this person? Like, and for me, it's like my intention is never to be upset with my mother, right? Like, I mean, it happens because we're human beings, but like, my goal is not to attach every single thing I felt like she's done to harm me to her, and just like let that be the only thing that I see. One, because I feel like it's unfair to my existence, but I also feel like I don't know how I'd be able to climb out of that if that was all I saw in that person. And that's for me, okay? Um, do we attract these archetypes because 90% of my ex-bosses fell within the category of being severe extreme energy vampires, and so did my late father? Yes, you're attracting them based off of your primary relationship. So whoever your parental figures were, whoever had the most influence in your lives. So for me, it was my mother, my grandmother, and my grandfather, and then my father was just there by default. And my grandfather kind of had a bit of like a poor me complex. But it only came out here and there. It wasn't as intense, or at least it wasn't as intense for me. My grandmother was definitely the intimidator as well. She was very terrifying. My mother was a mix of the interrogator and the intimidator, and then my father was aloof. So I had like a nice little cocktail, if you will, to pull from. But you tend to attract the control drama that you are most used to engaging with, right? So if your late parent was the intimidator, like kind of like bullying for energy, or like, you know, using force, and force as an energy too. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have to physically harm you to use force. There's different ways to use force, right? Um, to like get you to do what they wanted to do, it would make sense that any authority figure in your life would reflect that primary person's control drama, right? Let me know if that makes sense. Another term that applies here is energy vampire. 1,000% A. 1,000%. And the truth is, I know it's going to sound very controversial. Any of us, and many of us, can be energy vampires and not even realize it. There's a part in the book where the main protagonist has this interaction with like an intimidator, right? And he's like manipulating him. And the way that they talk about in the book is that you can literally see the energy from their aura being sucked into the other person. So I really wish I could give more visuals for that, because it's really beautiful in my mind of like seeing that energy dynamic. If I can find clips of that part in particular, I'll drop that information like an upcoming email. But you literally see it where it's like, okay, this person's energy is being sucked into the other person's energy field. So that means that that person's energy field that's taking that energy without permission, their energy field is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which is making them feel stronger and more powerful. And when you feel like that, you become more intimidated. You become more of your control drama, because you're starting to feel good, because the energy that you've been lacking, you're now receiving from someone else, even though the way you're getting it is by siphoning it from them, right? So while that's happening for that person in their control drama, the other person then is like becoming very weak and meek, and their energy field is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And this is also how a lot of us energetically die, right? Where it's just like you see people who are like alive but not living, right? Where like they just kind of have no drive or zest for life. It's probably because their energy has been sucked away from them, and because they too do not know how to recharge it, or they don't want to engage in a control drama. Because some people just are like, look, I don't even have the energy to engage in one of these activities. I am so drained out. And they don't know that going to, you know, going into nature and forest bathing, or like putting your feet in like a running creek, these are ways for us to gain our energy back. Meditating, sleeping well, eating, hydrating, these are ways for us to get our energy back to where it is. They don't know that, so they live life just constantly having the energy taken from them until they're no longer existing. And I can't tell you how many times we have seen that, right? We've seen energy vampires, and then we've seen the results of that, which are these zombie like beings that are just like, they're just here with no purpose, no essence of self. And it's really terrifying when you think about that. But this is happening all over the world. Yeah, boundaries prevent the invasion. They do. A healthy aura prevents a lot of things. I cannot express to you how important it is to strengthen your aura on a daily basis. Like, it's so crucial, especially if you are a sensitive being, especially if you're someone who's more tapped and tuned in. You really need to take better care of your aura, because that is the thing that prevents you from engaging in situations that are harmful for you. So you don't even have to think about it, right? Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Why are so many fathers aloof? It's so sad. Yeah, yeah. I don't necessarily have a theory of that. Um, I do feel like in general, when we're talking about like the traditional um basis of gender, and I'm talking about traditional. I'm talking about like as in um the male and female gender, though that is not the only scope of it whatsoever. But from my understanding of both of those, women tend to have a hypervigilancy because we are more oppressed, whereas men tend to have the ability to detach because they don't have to be as hypervigilant in a patriarchal world. Though they should be more aware of what's going on, but because most of these things in the patriarchal world do benefit them to some degree, right? And of course there's hierarchy within patriarchy as well. Um, but like because there is more benefit to them, it's just kind of like I'm not, a lot of men tend to be unaware of what's going on in the world in the sense of like softness and humanity and like caring for others, um even despite how they were raised, even if they had like a really um dedicated, loving, caring, maternal figure in their lives that like gave them everything that they needed, that also can make somebody aloof. Of like, well, everything was always taken care of for me, so like, why do I need to care, right? Or if they were missing that, then it's like, well, I never had that experience, so like, why do I need to care? That's also woven into the society and the level of oppression that we each face. But women just tend to have hypervigilancy because constantly our safety is being it's like up for grabs. And then that, even in that, there's a difference in that, right? Where like, if you're a person of color, your hypervigilancy is completely different because you have to take in race as well as sex, right? These are all just different ways as to why we express different control dramas as well. They don't go into like race or gender too much in this book, but if you are doing your research and looking at like the dynamics of societies, it's really clear to see that. But most people don't look that stuff up, to be quite honest with you, especially if it's not directly impacting them. It's devastating, Jack, because the amount of damage they cause is criminal. Yeah. Beyond it is. Um, I come from a background with similar father. Love to you. Love you guys. Compassion and empathy allows me to hold the four control personalities without letting them harm me. I love that, Amazon. Loving them from a distance holds them and reminds me I am loved, and in their way so are they. Yes, this is making so much sense. Yes, Aaron. Yay, so happy. Amy, Amber. Hi, Amber. I didn't even see your name here. I think because in our society, men are told to hide their emotions and never have a chance to develop the vulnerability it takes to be present in the hard role of a parent. I agree. You can even look at that when you're studying children. So when I was a preschool teacher, even the way that classrooms are structured, most of the little girls go to like the kitchen, right? Um, or they're playing with the dolls, taking care of the dolls, where like the boys like, I'm building and knocking things down, and I'm running around. And then when there are boys that go into like the kitchen, into like, the caretaker mode, they're made fun of, right? They're instantly like ostracized. Like, what are you doing holding a doll? Like, get that doll out of here. I did my best as an educator to just let kids be kids. So like, however the child identified in their gender, if they wanted to go and build blocks, I let them go build blocks because like they're kids, and like vice versa. But a lot of parents would be very upset with me, like, why is my son in the kitchen? And I'm like, because that's where he wants to be. Like, what do we talk like? That's what the boy wants to, like. I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I'm not gonna tell him not to be in the kitchen because he's a boy, because that's an insane thing. He needs to also have life skill sets to like take care of people, to take care of himself, to eat, to clean. These are things that all human beings should have access to, regardless of their age. But a lot of those dynamics are reinforced in childhood, right? So like if you are a very empathetic boy, right? And again, this is who you're identifying with. Um and you're around your guy friend and they're like, "Oh, not you're crying? Oh, no, you're weak." It's considered a sign of weakness, and then you're immediately attacked for that vulnerability. So, of course, your aloofness would protect you from being attacked for being vulnerable, because as a child, that's a very hard concept to comprehend, even for young women, like being told you're a crybaby, right? Like, and it's just like, so I'm not allowed to express emotions without y'all thinking that I'm like emotionally unstable. And that's true, right? Younger women or little girls, people that identify in the femme gender, they are considered emotionally unstable when they show emotion. Whereas boys or young men or those that identify in the male gender, they are considered weak, like literally, like, oh wow, you're not gonna be able to protect me if you're crying over this situation, right? Luckily now we have a change in media where, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I've noticed in a lot of cartoons and like movies, men are showing more emotion, right? Like the main character, the hero, might cry, which is like something that for me growing up in the 90s I never saw happen ever, right? So they are doing what they can in their own way to like alleviate that. But yeah, I 100% agree. That would easily make you either intimidator or an aloof person. Of like, well, then I'm going to be nonchalant, right? The people who are nonchalant are aloof. They're like, I don't get too vulnerable because when I get vulnerable, I get attacked. Or I don't get too vulnerable because when I'm vulnerable, I don't know how to navigate it because I've never been vulnerable to this degree, and I feel like I'm drowning in my emotions, and that also makes me feel super unsafe. Excuse me, super unsafe, and I'm just like I don't want to deal with that. Like I'd rather just pretend nothing exists. Let me know if that makes sense. Hi Tanya. I'm dealing with several situations where I need to establish strong boundaries and not sure how to. Any suggestions on where to start, learn how to honor my boundaries? I'm an empath and it's really affecting me. Yes, Tanya, the first thing I would say to you automatically is taking care of your physical body by hydrating. I know people are in the comments will be like, oh my God. I say this literally every class. That's why, Tanya. Like if you're new here, you probably don't know. But staying hydrated is super important, even in building boundaries. I know it may seem like, well, what does that have to do with each other? Hydration helps you to navigate your emotional well-being. They literally go hand in hand. There are tons of studies on how water affects our emotional well-being. Um, and if you are not emotionally well, it's going to be extremely hard for you to set and have any boundaries. You have to have emotional wellness to set proper boundaries. Otherwise, you might set barriers, which cuts you off from the dynamics that you're still wanting to engage in, because usually that's why people have boundaries of like I still want you in my life, however we're gonna have to filter how you are in my life because it's a bit overwhelming for me, right? Because my hope is that if someone is harmful to you or dangerous to your well-being, that your instinct is not to keep them around, it is to separate yourself from them. So that's why I'm saying it in that manner. But hydration is very important. Also understanding who you are and what you like and what you don't like is very important in setting boundaries. If you do not know who you are, it's going to be nearly impossible for you to set proper boundaries. Again, that's where you end up setting barriers as opposed to boundaries. Um, the next insight that I would give is looking at your primary relationships, whether they be with your parents or your parental figures, seeing what those control dramas are and how they are influencing how you move in life, because we tend to do that, right? So people who fall into one of these categories, and again, you could fall into multiple. It doesn't just mean that there's one that's active in your life. There might be a primary one, there might be a secondary one, right? You might ebb and flow between them depending on who you're engaging with, right? But you really want to make sure that when you're setting your boundaries that you're aware of where your wounds come from, because it is your wounds that are attracting those type of people in your life that you feel like you need to set boundaries for. And then a major insight is that boundaries are not for other people, they are for yourself. My boundaries are to keep me safe. They literally have nothing to do with the other people at all. I'm never setting a boundary because of somebody else. Never. That's no. That's also why I'm able to have healthy boundaries, because they're for me. What do I need for me to feel safe in this dynamic, in this environment, in this experience? That is what I'm going to set up. As opposed to, I got to set this boundary, which is not necessarily a boundary, it's a barrier, so that this person doesn't hurt me anymore. That's a barrier. That's not a boundary. A boundary is, okay, this keeps me safe where I can explore who I am. I can still remain soft and tender and be my lighthearted, happy self, regardless of someone's actions towards me, right? And the best example that I can give is like recently I was engaging with my sister's mom, and my sister's mom and my mom have very similar control dramas of like the intimidator of like I'm just going to use brute like force and energy to get you to do what I want, right? And we were engaging and she was trying to use that control drama, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not engaging in this. Absolutely not. No. And she was literally shocked because, you know, how I communicate to my own mother and my other mother, especially like in the Black community, is just like completely not what we do. And I was like, yeah, we're not doing that. Like, You're going to learn how to speak to me correctly and use a better tone. And if you're unable to do so, we don't have to be in communication at all. I'm going to go now and give you some time to cool down. However, talking to me in that tone of voice is never going to get your point across to me. Let me make that very clear to you. And she was completely taken aback, right? I was kind of like you are my child, and all that can be true. However, if you want to communicate with me, if you want an actual response from me, figure out a better way to talk to me. Or the other options that we do not speak at all. Those are the options in which I can operate in. Anything outside of those two things, I'm not engaging with. It's not an option for me. And if you're trying to communicate with me, you're going to need to be aware of my options, right? Otherwise, you're not going to force me into expressing myself in a way that I don't want to because it makes me feel unsafe or it's draining me of my energy, right? And even in that type of dynamic, right? That's me setting a boundary. It's not about her. It's literally about like, I'm not willing to start yelling and fighting with you. I don't want to do that. That makes me feel unsafe. So I'm not going to participate in that type of energy exchange. However you take that information is how you take that information. But I said what I said, and I'm not engaging with you like this. That is a boundary, right? A barrier is we're never talking again, and how dare you, and I will never speak to you ever again. That's a barrier. My intention is not to cut her off because she's a relationship in which I want to continue having because I do love her very much. However, that relationship needs to be healthy for me to survive in. So you will have to engage with me in a way where I feel safe. And setting those type of boundaries is a hard thing to do. It really is a stretching activity, right? Because you have to literally remember why you're setting that boundary for yourself. You have to constantly, I have to remind myself in the moment of like, your intention is not to argue with this person. You actually do not want to yell and raise your voice. You don't actually want to have a tone in your voice. These things make you feel uncomfortable. They make you feel icky in your own body. That is why we're not doing it. Yes, she's trying to antagonize you. That's not cool. We don't like that. The ego is coming up saying, I want to protect us because she has us messed up, right? But then the skill set, the technique that I've learned as a practitioner, just as a person, is just like, but I do love this person. And she's literally operating out of a clear control drama because she feels out of control. She, in this moment, feels so unsafe and so depleted that she is grasping for energy from wherever energy is available. And because I have a bright and big aura, because I take really good care of myself, it is like a moth to the flame, right? Of like, but you have tons of energy to give me, so give me. As opposed to being like, you can also offer up your energy, right? And that's normally what I tend to do when I'm around people. I tend to give willingly of my energy because that allows me to have influence in the dynamic in which I'm experiencing with other people. And because I feel a deep level of safety and care for myself, that overflows and people have access to that excess, right? And now they're leaning into it and they're feeling good. And they're like, ooh, okay, why is it that when I'm with you, I always feel calm or you have a calming presence? When you hear that about yourself, it usually means that your aura is giving access to that person to receive. And they talk about that in this book too. Okay. And like how that looks and feels for that person in that dynamic. That is a healthy way to share energy when you are giving it willingly. However, for the sake of this conversation, we're talking about, what happens when it's being taken from us. So let me know if that helps. Okay. Um, Let me know if that helps, Tanya, okay? Lotus Preacher, you were saying aloud how your background has been transmuted. You are who you are with your strength and credit because of it. Yeah, 100%. Like, and that also makes me very grateful for my parents, right? Where some people might be like, you're grateful that your dad was aloof. I am. Because it really required me to pay attention to myself. I'm actually really grateful that my mom was the intimidator, right? Because I can move about this world, and when people are trying to say things that hurt my feelings or try to make me feel small, they're unable to be successful in that. Because I'm like, I've had the best training in not caring about other people's opinions and making sure that when I say something and when I show up in a space that it is all of who I am and that I love myself so much that even if no one else agrees with me and I'm standing by myself on this idea, this thought, it is not swaying me. I am not bothered, right? That is something I was gifted from my mother being an intimidator, right? Now, was there maybe a better way for me to learn this? Sure. However, when you go more into the book, they talk about how our souls attract our parental figures in our lives because the goal is for us to be triggered awake, right? And if my mother was the opposite, I may not have ever gotten to this point because I chose in my soul before I got here to pick her and him because their control dramas were supposed to trigger me to become my most divine self. Now, what happens is that many of us get the trigger and it doesn't allow us to unfold. Instead, it makes us feel small and weak because of all the information that we're taking in, which is why, again, it's very important to continue reading and taking in information that allows you to remember your divine truth. Okay? Um, there we go. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to move this thing and I can't. Okay. Amy, drama victim, villain, hero, victim. It's not fair. It's being done to me. Who's at fault? I blame you, hero. I'm here to save the day. I'm enabling victims. It happens, Amy. It happens. Again, this is not about being perfect in your experience. It's about making progress in your experience, right? So for me, when I am playing into those different dynamics that you're speaking about, these are a little different than the control dramas. But when you're playing the rescuer, right, or the hero, it's a need to be in control. Again, if I save you, that makes me feel like I'm a better person because I saved somebody from some type of detriment or harm, right? However, if someone is not asking to be saved and you continue to keep saving them, you are enabling their poor behavior and you're probably putting them into the poor me category of the control dramas, which is what we don't want. Hi, Marquand. Good morning. As a theater artist, I appreciate the language here. It's definitely drama. I know, Amber, it's definitely drama. Yes, force as energy is really interesting. Yes. I mean, the best way that I can put it as an example for those that are into Star Wars, the force is an energy. It's not actual me putting my hands on you and shaking you. It's literally a life force, an energy in which they pull from that gives them the ability to do things that other people cannot do when they're not in the force, right? Whether that's making them clairvoyant, where they're more in tune with their five senses, or they're able to like move across the world like almost like they're floating, right? They have amazing acrobatic dynamics that they can do in their body. It's because they're in force, they're in the flow, they're tapped in and tuned in, and that gives them the ability to do things that other people can't do because they're not tapped in and tuned in, right? That's like a general understanding of it, but that's the best way that I can explain force, because I feel like sometimes people think force is like physically putting hands on somebody. I can project my energy out to somebody and they can feel that as a force. People can be in your energy, and if you have a distaste for them and you put that wave of energy out, they feel it. And they're just like, whoa, like what's going on? Right. And if you're in this group, if you've attracted me as a practitioner, as a friend, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've had that personal experience where someone has projected energy onto you and you're like, I do not like this. Some of us take on that energy because we tend to be empaths without boundaries, and we're just kind of like, oh, they're hurting. Others of us have a strong ego and we bounce back of like, well, I can project my energy too, you're not the only one who can do that, and we push it on them, right? And then we create this unnecessary force of dynamic that we're having back and forth. Like, there's different ways, but we've all experienced somebody projecting their energy onto us, whether it's a negative way or a positive way, because you've also experienced where someone, or you go around somebody and you just feel good. That's, they're also still projecting their force onto you. Force is not necessarily a negative or a bad thing. It's just an abundance of energy being directed somewhere. That just depends on the intention of the person. If I'm trying to harm you or dispel energy because I'm uncomfortable, that might come across as uncomfortable for the person I'm projecting it onto. If I'm just like vibrating with love and I just feel so amazing and so good and I just want to give you all my love and my energy, I can project that energy too. And you're just like, oh, that feels so safe for me. Like, wow, I love being around this person. They make me feel so good. They're not necessarily making you feel good. Your aura is accepting their influx of energy because it feels good, right? Let me know if that makes sense. Empowerment creator, challenger coach. I am creating my new story. I am in charge of what happens. Challenger, I am open and curious to learn. Obstacles help me get better. Coach, I help others get better, and I empower others to be successful. I love that, Amy. Yes, yes. Thank you for typing that out, Amy. Yeah, I agree. This is world changing if more people could understand the energy siphon. I'm telling you, that's why I was like, I really wanted to teach this particular part of the book publicly because it's big. It's a big, big thing. The force field to repel energy vampire is to stand in your power in your light and know thyself. Yes, 100%. I just joined. How do I keep my aura strong? I'm a sensitive person and have difficulty with some people not respecting my boundary. Um, Amazon really gave a really beautiful example of like standing in your power and in your light. And the only way you can really do that is by knowing yourself. So I would always suggest exploring who you are outside those dynamics. And that does take some time to do, but it's super important if you're trying to strengthen your aura. Like for it to be sustainable. But like some quick fixes, and again, these are quick fixes. These are not things that you can like just always do and that's it. You're gonna need to dive a little deeper, but like to get some instant gratification, if you will, cord cutting is really important. I have a cord cutting and a Ho'oponopono prayer mixture EFT session uh, on my Insight Timer page for you to check out. You can do that for a series of days. Maybe it's 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, 9 days, whatever days resonate with you. Another way, again, is staying hydrated, eating well, getting really good sleep. If your sleep pattern is off, your aura is weak. It's just that simple. Your body has to rest in order for it to have the ability to connect to your energetic field. Um, you can also use things like a selenite wand to clear out your aura, to cut off any cords that you might have. Because every time we interact with somebody, we create a cord. Some cords are not bad, some cords are not great. But releasing yourself from that helps you to feel freer. Going into nature, meditating with the trees and the breeze and the water and things like that, that also helps you to level up your aura so that you feel safe. Taking really good care of yourself helps you level up your aura. These are different ways that you can start implementing it now, but ultimately knowing yourself and knowing your truth is what's going to allow you to have a very strong and healthy aura. Okay? Hi, lady. What's the name of the book? Got in late. No worries, Marquand. It's the Celestine Prophecy. Yes, Lotus. I was feeling that reading the book. Entire institutions and countries work on the energy siphon. Yes, they do. They do. Thank you, Amy. Hi, Elena. Jim Detmer, the 15 commitments of conscious leadership. Ooh, yeah. If you could drop that in the group chat, that'd be awesome. How to tap out. We'll catch up with you later, people. Yes, yes, yes. We love you, Rohana. Yes, I'm gonna actually wrap this up too because I realized that we're still on topic, but I want to make sure I go over these things first. Um, yes, things that should be so innocent to children have been formed into other things. Yes, I agree. I appreciate you repeating it. I'm dehydrated. Yeah, and we'll be focused on that. Thanks to you, of course, Gigi. Yes, this is good. Yay, Marquand. Where do we find more information on these types? I'm gonna share some more, Kay. Again, sometimes when we get together, I'm like not always aware of the time, so I'm gonna go through these a little quicker, so you just have the general information, and you can read this book for more information. You can even Google the control dramas, and there are a few blog posts on there that you can use. Hi, Ivy. Thank you. If you want to communicate with me, find another way to approach me. Yeah, or don't communicate with me. Both of these are fine. You know? Major glow today, Lotus. Thank you, Marquand. Yes, I'm still working on controlling this. Yes, Monique. And the goal is not to control, right? The goal is just to embrace, right? Embrace these aspects of yourself. Because as you embrace them, you embody them. And once you embody them, it becomes a way of who you are, right? Where control is still like outside of you. Amazing ability to see past the behavior to the fear of the controlling person. Because anyone who's trying to control you is in fear. They're in fear that something about your energy is going to make them feel weak, and they don't want that feeling at all. Most people who have, and you guys can always correct me if you feel that I'm wrong, but what I've noticed is that for a lot of people who have experienced some form of abuse, they're usually these really beautiful lights. They're usually these really beautiful, profound, kind, loving human beings that tend to attract the people that truly do feel weak on the inside but are not going to admit it. You know what I'm saying? And that's where that abuse comes from, because the people that they're attracting are just like, your light is so bright. Why is your light bright? Why is my light not bright? I want your light, right? Or like, oh yeah, your energy is so much more easier for me to get that than it is for me to meditate or go to the park and sit and look at trees. That sounds boring. This feels like more fun to take it from you, right? There's different dynamics going on in their head, and they tend to always go towards people who actually have an abundance of energy. So if you find that you're someone who's an enabler, or you find that you're someone who tends to attract people who misuse you, it usually means that you have a lot of light and energy. You have a lot of it. It's probably blinding you to even seeing how big your energy is, but the other people are super aware of it, and they could want to take it for several reasons. It could be that they just don't want your light to be bigger than theirs, even though that's not even a thing, because everyone's light is the same, but some people just don't have the awareness of it, right? It could be that it's like, well, I only want to get energy from you because it feels really good, because it's easy to get it from you, right? There are different ways, and when you understand that your light attracts everybody, the good, the bad, it's light, right? It is light. Think about like flies when they see light, like it literally is something that's going to kill and harm them, and they still go towards it because it's attracting, it's alluring, they cannot help it, right? And it's not to make excuse for abusive behavior whatsoever. I'm just explaining on an energetic level why it is the way that we attract certain things. When I look back at my life and the dynamics that were very abusive, because I'm a loving person. Because ultimately, I just want to love people. I want people to feel safe around me. I want people to feel that I care about them. I want people to know that they matter to me. That's very important to me. So deeply important to me that sometimes I am willing to overlook the fact that even though this person is somebody that I want to love and care for, they don't love and care for themselves. And that's dangerous, right? Or if they don't love and care for me, that's also dangerous. Or they don't know how to properly love and care for themselves or for me. That is still very dangerous behavior. But because of my deep innate desire for people to feel love and safe around me, we tend to override that a lot, of like, no, I can just love them and they'll experience my love and they'll be better. That is a wild assumption, right? That is you putting yourself in harm's way. And most practitioners, energy workers, light workers, um, wellness practitioners, we've all done that in one way, shape, or form. And it usually has to do with our control dramas. Okay? Hi, Adrian. I think my work is on barriers versus boundaries. Yes, Tanya. Most people are, so you're not alone in that. I'm in an unhealthy relationship with my boy's father. I tend to gravitate towards people who are hurting. Yeah, like wounded bird syndrome is what I call it. Like you're thinking you're taking care of a wounded bird, and then like it ends up like it's like a vulture, you know, and then you take care of it and you bring it back to life. There's actually like I'm trying to figure out how to say it. Like in hoodoo culture, there's like a story of like a woman that tends to a snake. Like it's like a little sick snake, and she's like taking care of it the entire time, and like, oh, I'm gonna feed you, get you back stronger. And as soon as the snake is stronger, it attacks her because it's in a snake's nature to attack. It just wasn't able to do so because it was weak. And we look at it as in like this little weak thing, like, oh my God, no, like let me take care of you. And then we're feeding it energy for it to then come and hurt us. Right? So like that story is very profound for me because I used to have that behavior where I would see wounded people um and it's and not have discernment towards what I should be doing, right? Like, first and foremost, giving your energy to somebody when you don't have enough energy for yourself is wild and unnecessary, super dangerous, right? If they're getting your overflow, 9 times out of 10, they're not a misaligned person. I've also realized that only people who are in alignment, who are caring, who are loving towards me, receive my overflow. Other people are not on the frequency to receive it. That's also not my problem. I can't do anything about that, right? Um, Lowering yourself to their frequency gives them direct access to uh, your energy, which is a way to harm your aura. So that's another way for you to strengthen your aura, is to not be in the same frequency as the person that's trying to harm you. That's a big practice. That takes a lot of work to do. It's easier said than done. Okay. um, but it's super powerful. When someone is trying to rage against you and you're able to be the peace in that storm, that is a game changer in like how you process and receive energy moving forward. Okay. Um, Wanda, Adrian, the book is a Celestine prophecy. Thank you so much, Marquand. Grateful for Aloof Dad, Intimidator Mom as teachers. I am. Thank you guys so much for dropping the book. Is it okay to reinforce your boundaries? Some people don't have any. It's always okay to reinforce your boundaries. Always. Yeah, you should do it on a daily basis so that it becomes like an automatic thing for you to do. And then I also don't necessarily worry about people who don't have boundaries. That's not my business. Like, you not having boundaries is not going to affect me because I have boundaries. I can interact with people who don't have boundaries and it doesn't bother me at all. They either tend to fall apart, or they're like really inspired. I'm like, wow, how are you so put together? Like, what's going on? I'm just like, oh, I just have boundaries. Like one of those two happen. It's rarely any other option. They either fall apart, whether that's a temper tantrum or whatever that looks like for them, or they feel inspired to create some boundaries for themselves because they now have a visual representation of what it looks like to have healthy boundaries, and they realize that that's ultimately what they desire. It depends on where they're at. um Tanya, I'm so late, probably missed a lot of wisdom. No, you're right on time, and I'm trying to move quickly through this because I have it set for an hour and a half. But I also have like an EFT thing that I want to give us, but maybe I'll save the EFT for a different session because I want to make sure I get through this part for you all. I'm trying to figure out how to do this with the timing. Um, yes, hey Tanya, you can always watch the replay. Yes, thank you, Sia. Summer Star, what's up, girl? How are you? I'm great. Okay, I love this. Oh, that's totally fine. Don't worry. Hope I didn't miss the meditation time. You are fine. You're fine. We're still having a really beautiful conversation that I'm working on wrapping up for you all because I want to be mindful of your time. Okay, don't mind me. You become like 5 people you spend the most time with. Yes, be meticulous about who you choose. Agreed, Amy. Amy, hi. How's school? Okay, love this aura force conversation. Everything you're saying is on point, Lotus. Oh, thank you. Margot, how are you? It does make sense. So many people come to me and unload their life's frustration. Sometimes I'm okay after, but more often than not, I'm so drained by the end of the day. How do I keep my aura strong enough to be able to help? Margaret, I hope the suggestions that I gave are helpful. Um, and then also too, if you know there's a people like paying attention is super huge. Like when you're in a starting over phase, and I'm going to talk about this in an upcoming podcast episode too, so I'll go more in depth there. But when you're starting over and you're reevaluating the relationships in your life, you have to pay attention to how you feel when you leave them. Like I would do like a 7-day observation, and literally every person you encounter on a regular basis, after you're done with your conversation, take out your notebook or your audio and just be like, this is how I feel. I actually feel super freaking exhausted and I'm so tired and I want to go to sleep. Whew. And then at the end of those 7 days, go through your audio recordings or go through your journal and you'll be able to see. Literally, there's like a rating system between 1 and 10 that I do with my close people. And if you don't make it past 5, we are going to have some distance in our relationship. And it doesn't mean that I love you any less. That's not what that means. It just means that you are in that harmful danger zone and I don't want us to lose our relationship. Which means that I'm going to have to create some space, right? If you're 6 and up, that means that you're actually beneficial to me in this dynamic, and it's a vice versa thing. And I have people do the same thing for me. Like, let me know. I also do wellness checks for my friends of like, how are you feeling in our dynamic? Because I know I'm an intense person. Like, am I giving you love and support? Or do you feel like I've been kind of like heavy recently? I ask those questions as well because I don't want people I love and care about to feel drained from me. However, I also understand that that I have control dramas that I'm constantly working through. However, the subconscious mind is a whole other story. Like I want to make sure that I'm treating my people good, right? So doing any one of those things is going to really allow you to strengthen your aura too, because you'll be able to notice who is draining you, and then in the same tone, take note of those people that when you're with them and you leave them, you feel like you are on cloud 9. Most of my girlfriends now, when I even think about them, there's a smile to my face. I'm just like, damn, I love that girl. Like it just comes up to me and I'm just like, oh, love them. Or I see their name, or when I see them in person, it's like we've never seen each other before. Or like I had gone to war and came back and I'm just like, I love you. And we're hugging for so long. Like I love those feelings. All of my girlfriends give me that feeling. all of them, which also helps to strengthen my aura too, because now we're constantly giving and receiving from each other's aura. That makes our aura bigger. That actually invites source into the conversation and allows us to have a mastermind of energy with divine source, as well as our own higher selves connecting and loving each other. It's a beautiful experience. You're only going to get to that space when you are mindful of the people that you're around. So that's what I would suggest. Okay. Oh, Marquand, thank you for your donation. Yes, it's a donation based experience. So if you're able to donate, if anything resonates with you, if you feel like you've received something from this and you're able to financially donate, please do. This is a part of my livelihood. It's how I pay my bills. However, if you're unable to financially donate, please leave a review for any one of my tracks. Join my Insight Timer group. Subscribe to the podcast. There's more information there. To my YouTube channel. There's different ways for you to show your gratitude. It doesn't have to be financially, but if you're able to give, then please do. Okay. Okay, I'm catching up. This is a very interesting book. Glad you're enjoying it. I am enjoying it. I love this book. This is like my 10th or 15th time reading this book. Since I quit drinking alcohol 1 year ago, my aura and force have increasingly grown. Yes, that is another way to do that as well. I love living alcohol free and connecting back to my true self. Yes, alcohols are called spirits for a reason. There's an energetic frequency to alcohol, and it tends to lower your aura. Um, it's usually a very sensitive topic for people because people are like, no, it's not bad. In my culture, it's this way. Culture aside, alcohol is a depressant. It's a neurotoxin. It will always lower your vibration all the time. Even if you feel happier when you drink it, it is still lowering your vibration and it is depleting your aura. Which is why, like, in settings that are around alcohol, there tends to be like a lot of drama or heavy emotion. It's because no one's auras are operating correctly. That's why, like, there's things like bar fights, or like the bartender's like hearing everyone's story, right? And you're like the therapist. I used to bartend myself. Like, it is not the best space for people who are energetically sensitive at all. It's just not the best space. However, if you choose to drink, just be more mindful about it. You know what I mean? Hi Ivy. Okay, these are takers. Whew, I allowed it a lot. I'm trying to trying to save myself now, but still be a resource. Take your time, Raquan. Again, these are not overnight things that are going to happen. Take your time. This is perfect. The desire to control comes from feeling less. Yes, and beautiful spirits have a lot of energy, and the controlling wants to take it. Yeah, because they're just like, damn, it's a lot easier to get it from you than it is for me to go and take care of myself. Because if I could just take care of myself, I would just take care of myself. You know what I mean? Thanks, Sia, for the information. Align your dreams in the group. Yes. Yeah, I dropped the meditation. Sia told me her and Jack were talking about. I was like, oh yeah, I'll put it on as an everyday thing for you guys. That's not a problem. Yes, a wounded vulture. Some of them are. Some of them are like, let me just let you take care of me with all this good energy. And the minute that you do, I'm going to go back to my old ways. And I'm going to harm you, which is going to give me even more energy. And then I'm going to feel unstoppable, right? Amy, I couldn't agree more. I live alcohol free. Same. And I did not realize how much energy alcohol takes before my partner and I stopped drinking. It's hard enough to stay connected to your highest self. We don't need more barriers. Yeah, and alcohol is definitely a barrier for sure. Hi, Anna. My daughter's teen friend is struggling with alcohol. I'm sending her love. That's a hard thing. Alcoholism is hard because it's also like sugar addiction. It's so accessible and it's socially accepted, and especially in this country, it's very hard to fight those types of addictions. They're not as tainted as something like a harder narcotic, right? So people are always like not any. Let me rephrase this. People used to be very weirded out that I didn't drink. I stopped drinking in like my early 20s. I think I only drank for like 4 years. And then I was like, this is not really working out for me. I'm not really enjoying this. It doesn't really make any sense. I'm actually pretty fun on my own. I don't need it for that purpose. I also feel really tired and sluggish and inflamed afterwards. Like, it doesn't make any sense for me personally. And people are like, oh, or like, are you, in an AA program? And I'm like, no, I just don't want to drink. Fortunately, it's not that serious for me, And then as an energy practitioner, in order for me to feel ethical in the work that I do and to ensure that I'm able to hold proper space for my loved ones and for my community, that is also why I choose not to drink. That's very important to me that y'all feel safe around me. And I don't want to do anything that could interrupt, you feeling safe around me. Very important to me. Like, probably one of my biggest things outside of you feeling beautiful when you're around me is that you feel safe. Like, if someone doesn't feel safe around me, that is something that I still can internalize and start to wonder about, you know? There we go. Congratulations this year, Lotus does EFT. Yes, yes, yes. It still does. I have it set up for you in the group. Yes, I know, I know. Let's get into it, guys. Um, love you, Vita. Lotus, you are. Have you read The Greatest Secret by Rhonda Byrne? I have. I love Rhonda Byrne's books. They're so much fun. Yes, good morning. Stepped in a little bit. Hi, Kelly. Ah, hey, how are you? Energy slowing down. So great to see your beautiful face this morning. Hello. I wish I could be there. I screenshot most of what with you, Louis. I love you, Summer Star. Good morning, David. My new neighbor has a troubled soul. I've been only around her once. I would just sage my doorway and put some salt at the bottom of the door to protect your energy as well. Sam, I chose to stop drinking. I'm going on 15 years. That's beautiful. Yes. I think I'm fun on my own too. I think weed is safer than alcohol, so choice needs to be made. So cannabis is a plant medicine. It's not a drug. I know it's been classified as a drug in this country, but when you do the research and the homework, it's a plant medicine. It's an indigenous plant medicine, the same way that psychedelics are. How it's being utilized and consumed also matters, but there are no researches on that. It's an addictive thing. There's nothing addictive in plant medicine at all. However, people tend to misuse it because they misuse anything. Most people who have a dependency on things like cannabis or like shrooms or psychedelics to help them like feel, I guess, like connect to the divine energy, also have really deep afflictions with sugar most times, or alcohol, and they again classify it as a drug when it's not a drug at all. There's no drugs. Just because that's psychoeffective properties does not make it a drug. Because a drug is also something that can harm you, right? Uh, that's why like pharmaceuticals are considered drugs, because though there are benefits to it, there are also severe side effects that they make you aware of, right? That's a drug. There are no severe side effects of cannabis. It depends on the strand, on the cultivation, and on how you are intaking it as to what happens to you. So a lot of people who use cannabis and say like, I don't do it because it made me paranoid, you probably misused the strand, right? Or you consumed it in a way that's not how your body enjoys it, but your body literally has a cannabinoid system built into it to process cannabis, because it is, again, a medicine and a plant. So I like to always clarify that, because I feel like, especially in the Black community, it's just misclassified for that exact reason, because it is a medicine, and when used properly, it can really help you in so many different areas of your life. But again, that should be done with a professional, um, and if you choose to use it recreationally, that's also your business too. Okay. Oh, I feel that in my heart. That's amazing. Want to keep others safe. Yes. Thank you for reading comments out loud. It helps when I'm moving around. Yeah, I do my best, Summer Star, Okay, also for your information, there's ongoing research into psychedelics and controlled settings for healing PTSD. Yep, yeah, there's a really good email list that I'm on, and I can't think of the name right now, but if I come across it, I'm gonna send it to you all. But I constantly get updates about plant medicine and like psychedelics and how it's helping for trauma-informed therapies. That's also really important to me for like alternative methods of healing. But yeah, there's some amazing things, and it does encourage neuroplasticity. 100% K. Yes, yeah, yeah. Could you please repeat the name of the book? Yes, of course, Anna. The Celestine Prophecy. See if you can take a picture of it. Okay. Yes, sister. Star. Yes. The name of my podcast is Lotus Light. Let me put this here. Oh, I'm typing on the wrong place. Okay. Okay. All right. I caught up on the comments. If you have to go, I understand. I'm going to have this as a replay. It'll be available on YouTube by like, probably like tomorrow. Take some time to like do its thing. And I'm still going to go through the other stuff. Please, if you have to go, do not worry at all. you know how it gets when we're together. Like we're constantly chit-chatting and connecting and vibing and deepening the conversation. Things happen. So if you have the time, please stay. If you don't have the time, I thank you for spending this amount of time with me to begin with. I love you so much for it. Um, but yes, for the sake of making sure everybody has the information that they need for the replay. So we talked about the Intimidator, and I'm just going to go over the description very quickly. The Intimidator exerts control through fear and authority. They create high-pressure environments, demanding compliance and obedience through threats of fear and consequences. A social, like a pop culture reference is Miranda Priestley from The Devil Wears Prada. For anyone who's watched the movie, she is considered an intimidator. Her domineering presence and harsh demands create a stressful environment where her employees fear um, making mistakes. That's an intimidator. Behaviors to look for an intimidator: uses of threats or ultimatums, creating an environment of fear or anxiety, frequent use of authority to assert dominance. Those are some main behaviors you can look for, whether it's in yourself or in others to witness that control drama. Okay? Some reflective questions that you can ask yourself. In what ways do you experience fear or pressure from others? I'm going to copy and paste that in here so you guys can just take a picture. I'm going to do both of them. Here we go. And these are reflection questions for the Intimidator. Let's see, folks. I never understand why they never just let me give you guys exactly what you need. It's always so unnecessary. There we go. The first one, and then the second one. There we go. Those are the questions for that one, okay? Jack, thank you for your donation. I appreciate you so much, okay? Healing aspects of the Intimidator. The healing process for the Intimidator involves recognizing that true power comes from the respect and collaboration of others, not their fear. By shifting from intimidation to supportive leadership, you can foster a more positive and empowering environment. So that is a healing aspect. So an intimidator has the ability to become a very profound leader when they are able to transcend their need to siphon energy from others and instead cultivate that energy within themselves and through limitless resources like nature, or self-care, or their divine source. Okay? So the second one is the interrogator or the critic, and for my own sake, I'm just going to say the critic because it's easier for me. The description: the critic asks excessive questions or criticizes others to find faults or maintain control. They often make you feel judged or inadequate. That is their way of siphoning energy, right? By making you feel small, it makes them feel big, okay? Examples: Julius Rock from Everybody Hates Chris. I don't know if anybody watched that show, but that was a big show for me. His constant questioning and criticism of Chris's actions created an environment where Chris feels scrutinized and judged. And it doesn't necessarily mean that he was doing that again to harm him. It just simply was his way of creating power in that dynamic of like, if I make my child feel like they're second guessing every thought, that makes me feel powerful, right? It's not a conscious act. I know if he consciously understood what he was doing, probably wouldn't be making that choice. However, it's a subconscious act that allows him to feel like he's in control, okay? Behaviors to look for: asking numerous probing questions, almost like try to find fault. Of like, oh, really? That's interesting because didn't you say it was this? And then like last week you said it was that. Like that's someone who is trying to take your energy. Like they're trying to siphon energy from you, right? Making critical or judgmental remarks, a focus on finding faults or shortcomings, right? So here are the reflexive questions for the critic. And again, these questions are going to also be in the Insight Timer app, but the entire syllabus will be available in the garden, okay? Healing aspects. Healing the critic involves practicing empathy and constructive feedback. Emphasize understanding and support rather than criticism. This shift allows for more genuine connections and helps to build self-esteem in others, right? So the critic's main thing is to take your self-esteem, because that's how they take your power. So in order for you to transmute that, if you are someone that identifies as the critic, and I definitely have critic qualities myself, the best way is to make sure that you are, instead of siphoning your self-esteem, you're looking to build it up, because that also does make you feel powerful as well. Being able to pour into someone's self-esteem does make you feel better about yourself as well. Okay. Then we have the aloof. Description: the aloof avoids engagement by being distant or vague. They keep others at arm's length, making it difficult to connect or gain clarity. The example that they gave for pop culture, which I think is hilarious, is Daria. I don't know if anyone remembers that show. I love Daria. She was very like monotone, very, this is who I am and I don't care at all and that's not funny. Like they kind of lack a bit of personality, if you will. And it's not because they don't have it, it's because they feel like their personality is a sense of vulnerability, and they don't want people to have access to that part of them because it makes them feel weak, because some people tend to misuse that. If you have like a bubbly personality, you're most likely considered to be like airheaded, right? Or not intelligent, things like that. Um, so people who have that type of personality and eventually hide it and become aloof is because they were being attacked for it. They were being siphoned for that energy, and this prevents them from being from feeling weak. Okay. Behaviors to look for: providing minimal or evasive answers. These are people that you can never get a clear response from, and that also has to do with the fact that they are very unsure of themselves, and they are also living in a state of confusion, which is also why they can't give you clear answers, because they do not take enough time to engage to really know what it is that they want to receive from that experience. That's also a symptom of that. Avoiding deeper conversations or emotional engagement, again, because it makes them feel very weak and unstable. Or keeping interaction surface level, not wanting to go too deep, right? Not wanting to find out more about the soul to soul energy we all have, because that makes them feel vulnerable and that's terrifying for them. Okay. So I'm going to drop the reflective questions here for the aloof. Okay. Here we go. There we go. Do you find yourself shutting down or withdrawing in conversations? That might be a sign that you are aloof. How does aloofness affect your relationships and communication? Are you someone where people talk to you and they're like, it seems like you don't really care about me or like what I'm experiencing, right? That's a sign that your control drama is aloofness, because here's how you siphon your energy. By you being distant and mysterious and vague, people tend to come towards you of like, hey, what's going on, let me ask more questions, and then you siphon your energy from them that way, because they ultimately do care about you, and because their focus and their energy is on you, you're now getting that boost that you need from them. Okay. Healing aspects. For the aloof, healing involves embracing vulnerability and openness. By actively engaging in meaningful conversations and expressing emotions, you can build deeper connections and trust with others. It's really an opportunity to open up your heart, right? I would definitely suggest open heart practices, people who are aloof, to begin to feel again, right? And then also some grounding exercises, because what tends to happen is that when you open that door, it's like a flood coming in, because all this backed up emotion that you've had pressed against this barrier. And once you let that barrier down, it's like a wave of emotion that hits you. You become ultra sensitive. So doing some grounding practices would work too to help you feel better. Okay. And then the last one is the poor me, which is like the weakest of the four, right? Whereas the intimidator is like, I'm going to steal this energy from you. The poor me one is where you almost just like give it, because you're just like, you just seem so weak and I don't know what else to do, right? Still super dangerous. The description: the poor me seeks sympathy and attention by portraying themselves as victim of circumstance. They often use self-pity to gain support and validation from others. The pop culture reference was Steve Urkel from Family Matters. His self deprecating humor and constant laminating about his social awkwardness are ways he seeks attention and sympathy, right? You feel bad for Steve Urkel, right? Where it's always like, I hope him and Laura get together because he's such a good person, when in fact he was lacking severe self-confidence, which is why his alter ego, Stefan, was literally the complete opposite. A very confident, open, non-socially awkward man lived within Steve Urkel, right? That literally is his opposite. Behaviors to look for: frequent expressions of self-pity or victimhood. People who are very much woe is me, my life is hard. One thing that I tend to do with poor me people tend to uh irritate me, if I'm being very transparent, because I can see the form of manipulation where they're just like, I've had so much severe traumas in my life, and I genuinely remind them that I don't know anyone on this earth who has not had severe traumas in their life. Mostly everyone, unfortunately, has to go through something traumatic in life. That is not an excuse for you to check out or for you to um, be harmful to others because someone has harmed you, right? Holding people accountable like that can feel very hard. It almost feels like like it's a feeling of, you feel like you're almost attacking them all the time, or they take it as that, where you could be like, hey, you said you're gonna do this thing and you didn't get it done, what's going on? They automatically get defensive of like, oh, like my life is so sad and this person left me, and oh my, like they tend to get to that space because they are losing in that energy dynamic, because you're trying to hold them accountable, which makes them feel small. So then their thing is to make themselves feel and appear weaker so that you can give your energy to them so they can feel better. Okay? Um, Seeking sympathy or help from others, right? Focusing on personal misfortunes or struggles. These are people who have a struggle mentality. They think that everything in life is hard and that they can never catch a break. These are the people that normally say things like, I'm never lucky, or they try to undermine your life by saying like, oh, that would only happen for you, that could never happen for me. That is their way of trying to siphon energy by making you feel bad about the fact that you don't have the same misfortunes that they have in their life, when in fact you're dealing with your own shit, right? Reflective questions for the poor me. I'm going to give this to you guys right here. Mm-hmm. There we go. Here we go. How do you respond to those who play the poor me role? That's really important. Like for me, I find that I tend to respond either in the aloof control drama, where I'm like, I need to create distance from this because it's irritating me, because I know what I've gone through and I can consider myself to be a poor me person, but it just doesn't, it's a form of manipulation that honestly really does bother me. Um, or I can respond in the Interrogator, the critic, right? Where I'm just like asking these probing questions to try to figure out, like, to get you to understand, like, how you're victimizing yourself. Um, yeah, that one actually, because you're gonna find that out of these four, there's one that really gets you. Some people, it might be the Intimidator, because like that bullying aspect, and you might think about the time that you've been bullied and how much you don't like that. For me, because I've always had a very strong personality, whenever I was with or engaging with somebody that didn't consider themselves to have a strong personality, they always made it seem like I was harming them. And for a long time in my childhood, I thought that I was like this really mean person. And it wasn't until I started to understand these different control dramas where I realized, like, no, it's just that they were getting really upset with me because they could not manipulate me out of my energy. And that made them then go on the attack of like, well, you're such a mean person and you're not caring. And in fact, it's like I'm one of the most deeply and most passionately caring people out here. I just also will hold you accountable for the role in which you play in your life and what you're experiencing. I've gotten a lot more nuanced at that as a coach and as a practitioner, having a different level of skill set, understanding tonality, and how to ask proper questions, and being able to read people's energy fields, so that way I am not triggering you in the sense where you feel the need to become defensive, more in the way where you receive it as an invitation to dive deeper. Okay. Healing aspects. Healing the poor me involves shifting from self-pity to self-empowerment. Very important. Focus on taking responsibility for your actions and finding proactive solutions to challenges. This shift promotes a sense of agency and resilience. Okay? Why control dramas harm us? Control dramas are harmful because they create unhealthy dynamics and prevent authentic connection. They are often rooted in past experiences and can perpetuate cycles of manipulation and emotional distress. To gain awareness of your control drama, you need to be self-reflective. Notice when you are engaging in or being affected by a control drama. Reflect on your behaviors and your reactions. Observe interactions. Pay attention to the dynamics in your relationships. Are there patterns of control or manipulation? Right? Seek feedback. Ask for honest feedback from trusted friends or family about your behavior and their impact. If you do not have trusted friends or family, or you're evaluating if you do, then you would need to go and talk to like a professional, whether that be a therapist or a practitioner or a lifestyle coach, someone that you feel safe around. You would also be able to ask them for feedback because they are trained to be able to give you proper feedback. Okay? Benefits of awareness. When you are aware of your control dramas and the control dramas of others, it can improve your relationships and your communication. It can create personal growth and emotional freedom, and it can enhance ability. It can enhance your ability to respond authentically rather than reactively. So there are crazy, beautiful, profound benefits to understanding your control drama and the control drama that shows up in others. Okay. I'm gonna go over any questions in the comments, and then we'll do the quick EFT tapping round for control dramas before we head out. Okay. I read a lot on medical journals. I love that, Kay. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, I wait to know. I'm asking myself, why is she placed in my life? It could honestly be, again, Kelly, we talked about this a little earlier, that because you're a bright light, you attract anything. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're attracting misfortune or like bad things or people to harm you, but everything is attracted to light, the good, the bad, the ugly, because it's so bright. Okay, so that might be why. Thank you for typing this out. Of course, Summer Star, critic, yuck. Yeah, I know. I have some critic ways about myself. They're not as bad as they were, but again, growing up with an intimidator slash critic, I became hypercritical. I was very much a critic to myself more than I was to other people. I tend to be a very black and white person with my personality, whereas for people outside of me, most of my people live in the gray area, and I support them in that, but I'm unable to do it for myself, right? Dynamics, understanding yourself. Like a prosecuting attorney. Agreed, Jack. That's a really good one. My boss is a critic. I can't with him. Margot, most bosses tend to because they don't have proper leadership training. Will you be writing in the group later? I will be writing down the 4 controlled dramas and the reflective questions in the IT group. The syllabus, all the detailed information is going to go in the garden. Okay. Daria, love her. I love her too. Like, she was really one of my favorite characters. So it was so funny when she said aloof. I'm like, oh my god, yeah, she is aloof. Like, but that's also how she had main character energy. She was able to siphon energy from her entire family, where her sister was the complete opposite, like the bubbly, like girly girl, things like that. In that dynamic, it's a lot harder to match that frequency of lightheartedness. So it's easier to bring it down to a lower level of aloofness, right? I'm trying to stay safe. Exactly. The main character of Celestine Prophecy is aloof, and he gets on my absolute nerves. Every time with him, I'm like, bro, are you on the journey or not? And it's so funny because the way that the book is written, that's why the protagonist doesn't have a name. So with most books that the protagonist doesn't have a name, is because they want you to identify with the protagonist. So when you start to be annoyed or cheer on the protagonist, you are ultimately cheering on or being annoyed by yourself. This is a big thing in literature. This is one of the things that I learned from my literature degree that I thought was really fascinating. So when I read this book and I realized that he does not have a name, there's no name whatsoever in this book to identify him. It's why, so certain things in it, when I'm annoyed by him, I'm like, it's because I've been there. And I was so annoyed that I didn't like pay attention to those signs. It's a really great way to engage you. Okay? Keeping the conversation focused on others. Urkel, yeah, Urkel was a good one, right? Have to jump on another live. Bye, Kelly. Beautiful. These questions make me think. I love that. So glad I made it today. Amber, I'm happy you're here too. Yes, I am always frustrated with the protagonist in the Celestine Prophecy all the time. Every time I read it, I'm just like, I know who this person is, and yet he still upsets me. It's fine. Okay, so Do we have a clear understanding of the control dramas, of their behaviors, and things like that? Let me know. You guys can either leave the comments or just throw in some hearts so that I know, and then we can do the EFT session. It's only 2 rounds, so it'll be pretty quick, okay? If you have any questions about any control drama, please leave it in the chat so that I can answer them, because I want to make sure that we leave understanding those 4 control dramas and being able to hopefully identify which control drama you are operating out of. Okay? Okay, perfect. Yes, no worries, Summer Star. We're about to start tapping. Okay. So we're going to do a quick 2-round EFT session for control dramas. The only thing that I need from you in this moment is to make sure you drink water either before the session or after. We're not going to tune for this one because it's only 2 rounds. Okay, and we're going to start tapping right after I go over the tapping points for those that have never tapped before. Tapping points are the side of hand between the pinky knuckle bone and the wrist bone where my tattoo is on either side. You can lightly tap. Top of the head where the crown chakra would be. The start of the brow. You would trace your eyebrow to the side of the eye where the ocular bone is and you would tap there. You would trace underneath the eye to where the ocular bone is and tap there. Underneath the nose above the top lip, you would tap here. In the crease of our chin, you would tap here. On the collarbone, so you would look for the collarbone, that fleshy area underneath it, and you would tap there on either side. Doesn't matter. You can hook the thumbs together. And then underneath the arm, so you would go to the end of your armpit where you feel the beginning parts of your rib cage, and you would tap there. If you wear a bra, it'd be where your bra strap is. If you are a hypersensitive person, what I would encourage you to do instead of tapping are the alternative ways to tap. So that could be pulsing, where you keep your hand to the body, rubbing, a soothing motion, or hovering. It still has the same impact. You're still clearing out energy, strengthening your aura, rewiring the brain, releasing any trauma in the body. That's still happening even if you're not touching your physical body, okay? I traditionally tap because that's what I'm used to. If you find that you feel overstimulated in tapping, do one of the alternatives, okay? If you find that there's a tapping point that feels really good to you, that is probably your sweet spot, and stay there. If it feels good, stay there. Trust that your body knows what it's doing. It'll invite you to move to a different tapping point when it feels like it, okay? So we're going to start. Let me know when you guys are ready. And we're going to do EFT for control dramas. I'm actually very excited. Okay. Perfect. We can start on the side of hand. Lightly tap, pulse, rub, or hover. And repeat after me, okay? Deep inhale, breathing in. Exhale, letting go. Even though I have these control dramas and the patterns that they create, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. I'm going to go to the top of the head, tap here. I have this need to control others. And it makes me feel safe. We're going to go to the start of the brow, tap here. But then I can feel controlled by other people. And that's super uncomfortable. Side of the eye, tap here. It creates fear and anxiety in myself. And now I wonder, does it do that to others when I try to control them? Underneath the eye. The judgment I feel makes me want to be aloof. Underneath the nose. The self-pity that I tend to access makes me seek out sympathy. But do I need that? Chin. There we go. Beautiful. I don't think I do. I think I want to release these patterns. I don't know if they're helping me. And I think that they're hurting others. Collarbone, tap here. I would like to move forward in my divine truth so that I can interact more authentically underneath the arm, where I'll be able to move from a place of love, care, compassion, that allows me to feel good and safe and allows others around me to feel good and safe. We're going to go to the top of the head. Even though I have used these control dramas, I'm open to transforming them into healthier interactions. Brow. Embracing healthier ways to communicate. That is my main focus right now. Side of the eye. Creating authentic connections where I feel seen and I feel safe. That's what matters right now. Underneath the eye, tap here. Because when I do, I'm able to release old patterns of manipulation. Underneath the nose, tap here. And I can welcome positive change. And that helps others feel safe and seen around me. Chin, tap here. I want to cultivate trust and openness so I can have heart-to-hearts with my loved ones. Collarbone, tap here. I want to empower myself while also helping others to build up their self-esteem. Underneath the arm, tap here. I know I can find harmony and peace in my interaction with others and in my interaction with myself. We're going to go to the side of the hand to close out. I'm releasing the authority control dramas have had in my life. As I let them go, I make space for more loving and authentic experiences and relationships with others. I let my divine truth shine through, and it is welcomed and honored by anyone I interact with. I want you to place your hands over your heart space. Take a nice deep inhale, breathing into the lower belly. Taking another breath into the heart. Slow exhale, release, letting go. Bringing a smile to your face, knowing that you've cultivated awareness about these 4 archetypes that have caused a lot of damage in your life. And now with this level of awareness, you'll move forward and be able to transmute them, to receive the invitation that they have within each one, to build up your self-confidence, your level of empathy, your level of engagement, and your ability just to be a safe place for yourself and others. Deep inhale, breathing in. Open mouth, exhale, release, softening the shoulders. Dropping your hands to your lap. Refocusing your gaze, your eyes, your gaze, excuse me. And letting me know how you feel in the comments. Drinking some water, please, okay? And as you guys are doing that, just letting you know that next week there is no tapping session. However, I will be dropping an audio. I'm hoping that the audio gets approved in enough time on Insight Timer, but if it doesn't, it will be released on Lotus Like, okay? There's also a watch party happening for Lotus Like on Friday. If you guys can join in, please do. It'll be so much fun. We'll listen to the episode together. I gave you guys a tea recipe in yesterday's email, so go check it out. You can make that tea recipe or your favorite drink, and we're literally going to be face to face. Not in person, but like digitally, and watch the episode and talk about how it makes us feel. I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to seeing faces and talking to you all digitally. So if you can make it on Friday, please do. We will still have our Lotus Hour for Sunday, this upcoming Sunday, but next Wednesday there will be no class. I'm looking to implement the last week of every month to not teaching any live classes. One, so that I can reset as a practitioner and get ready for the month that's coming ahead. But also like just to like rest, you know. So yes, I want to make sure I gave you guys that announcement. Okay, see ya. Feeling ready for the day now. Yes, Elena, thank you so much. Jack, everyone, always a pleasure to be here. Elena, sending you so much love. Monique, thank you so much for your donation. Lotus at EFT was amazing. Would be great one for your profile. Resonates with this. Thank you, Summer Star, for that. I will put that to good use. Thank you so much, Gigi. You're so welcome. Yes, go have a great day on purpose. See, I agree. You're so welcome. Lotus, you're so loving, such a light. Thank you. Thank you, Jack. I appreciate you all so much. Please go and have a great day. Please go and drink water. Again, we're still feeling the effects of that full supermoon. If you need any extra support, reach out to me via DM. And we have the Manifest Your Life, Your Dream Life Now meditation happening every day now at 8:08 Eastern Standard Time, PM, in the Insight Timer group for anyone that wants to meditate every day. And then we have our tapping sessions that are happening every day too, okay? You'll get an email from me probably tomorrow and Saturday, just with some updates and stuff like that, and a reminder for you to, you know, engage and jump in and stuff like that, okay? Much appreciated, Lotus. I will definitely rewatch and sign up for the email. Beautiful day. Thank you, Essence. I love you both all so much. You both. I love you all so much. And I really hope you have a great day. And I will hopefully see you on Friday. If you want the link to the watch party, it is literally in the email that I sent out last night. It is donation based. You can pay whatever you can. But it's going to be so much fun. And then you'll definitely see me again on Sunday. Okay? All right.